What's up, everyone? Welcome back. My name is Derek, and in today's video, we're going to do a little follow-up on the last video I made on this channel. On July 11th, last weekend, the Chicago White Sox unveiled a new statue outside of their stadium, Guaranteed Rate Field. This statue is of their pitcher, Mark Buehrle, who threw both a no-hitter in 2007 and a perfect game for the White Sox in 2009. So today we're going to discuss the numerology of this unveiling and how it's connected to a riddle that I picked up on in my most recent video, which was on the death of White Sox World Series winner Bobby Jenks. Now, about 21 minutes into this video, I start talking about a riddle connected to perfection. And if you watch the video at this point, I actually mention that I believe this is connected to Mark Buehrle's perfect game from 2009. And when I made this video, I had no clue that the White Sox were planning to unveil a Mark Buehrle statue just a few days later. Now, it was public knowledge, but not something that I saw. However, I picked up on the connection through the death of Bobby Jenks. So in the first part of this video, we'll talk about the numerology, why July 11th was chosen for this ceremony in Chicago. The second part of this video is going to dive into the deeper organic matrix connections. Numerology and synchronicity means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But to me, I primarily see it as the code of the reality that we all share. Anyone with a consciousness and a capacity to digest and process this information that I share on this channel is also connected to the greater world at large. Back in 2009, for Buehrle's perfect game, it just so happened that I watched like the second half of this game live on television. It was the only time I've ever seen a perfect game. Of course, perfect games are very rare in Major League Baseball. There's only been, I think, a little over 20 thrown in history. And Buehrle, who wore number 56, threw this no-hitter on my mom's 56th birthday, and her name sums to 56 in Gematria. So I have a whole post about my organic connections to Mark Buehrle. And yeah, to me, it's a perfect example of the clues to the deeper interconnectedness of reality that, again, we all share. Because while there is a conspiratorial element to numerology, I believe that what we're witnessing runs much, much deeper. And there is absolutely an organic element to this code. So thanks to everybody for tuning in. Let's get started on the numbers. And we're actually going to start in the prime number cipher, one of the main mathematical ciphers that I glance at on this channel. Prime numbers simply uses the alphabetic order, but then assigns the associated prime number for each letter. And in this cipher, the pitcher's name, Mark Buehrle, sums to 350. Well, it just so happens that the statue that was unveiled weighs 350 pounds. This new bronze statue at the ballpark. The date it was unveiled was Friday, July 11th. Now, if you measure from Mark Buehrle's birthday, March 23rd to July 11th, we get a span of 111 days. In the standard alphabetic order, where each letter is assigned a number 1 through 26 relative to its position in the alphabet, the word perfection equals 111. And while Buehrle's entire career was pretty good, it was really his perfect game that cemented his place in White Sox lore. When Buehrle threw his perfect game on July 23rd of 2009, he was exactly 364 months of age. He was also 11,080 days old. This brings us to capital letter Gematria, where the alphabetic order is maintained and reversed here, with capital letters mixed in. And notice how the name Mark Buehrle has a numeric value of 364, matching his age for his perfect game. But what's more interesting is that he was also 11,080 days of age on that date. In numerology, the zeros are customarily ignored, so this represents the number 118. And in the standard reverse alphabetic order, the last name Buehrle equals 118. Keep this number in mind. It'll come up again later as well. But once again, this wasn't his only feat for the White Sox, the perfect game on July 3rd, 2009. But he also had a no-hitter, and it was one of the best no-hitters ever thrown because he only had one walk, and that hitter, Sammy Sosa, was picked off on base, meaning he faced the minimum 27 batters in this no-hitter, just very, very close to a perfect game. Well, those two games, the no-hitter and the perfect game, were separated by 118 weeks, matching the name Buehrle and his age for perfection. Furthermore, the number on his jersey, 56, has a value of 118 in the alphabetic order. Now, if you saw my video on Bobby Jenks, or my video on the Texas floods, you would have learned that Barack Obama is heavily connected to a lot of what's going on lately. This all started with the flooding in central Texas, which were the result of Tropical Storm Barry. And Barry, the childhood nickname of Barack Obama, Barry Soetoro, as many of us know him as. Obama, of course, lived in Chicago and was an Illinois senator prior to becoming the President of the United States. Friday's statue unveiling was 11 months and 8 days after Barack Obama's birthday to sync up with this 118 code. Now, this 118 is of course important, but just the number 18 on its own is also relevant here because Mark Buehrle's perfect game in 2009 was the 18th perfect game in Major League Baseball history. Meanwhile, his no-hitter 2 years prior was not only on the 108th day of the year, but it was also 108 days before Obama's birthday. This is, of course, a very important number to Major League Baseball. Major League equals 108, so does baseball, which also equals 18 like MLB. The team that Buehrle defeated in that perfect game was the Rays, which equals 18. Of course, 18 players in a baseball game, active at any time. But 18 is the sum of 6 plus 6 plus 6. This is important to the city of Chicago, whose 108-story Willis Tower is located in the 60606 area code, or zip code, I guess would be more accurate. And isn't it interesting that the word perfection has a Sumerian value of 666? Sumerian, the cipher that multiplies the order by 6 to reveal the number of the beast. Friday's statue was unveiled 6,660 days after his 2007 no-hitter. So this 666 code that we see in perfection, you'll also notice that I, Pet Goat 2 sums to 666. And this I will elaborate on in a little bit. Now, in Mark Buehrle's perfect game, there was an incredible play in the 9th inning, quite possibly the best defensive play to ever save a perfect game, when center field substitute Dwayne Wise leapt over the fence to rob a home run off of the bat of Gabe Kapler. I always get Gabe Kapler confused with Gabe Kaplan, the actor and poker player. But yeah, Gabe Kapler was playing for the Rays, and in the 9th inning, hit a ball over the fence, but this guy made a miraculous catch to bring it back. It was just one of the most amazing plays ever. You got to see it if you haven't seen it. And what I found out is that there's a staggering numerical connection between Mark Buehrle and Dwayne Wise. First of all, notice how Mark Buehrle's perfect game was exactly 28 lunar phases after his no-hitter. A lunar phase measures the time between new moon to new moon, a little over 29.5 days. And this number 28 is very important. On my website at gematrinator.com, if you punch 28 into the number properties page, you'll find that it's a perfect number. This means that all the divisors of this number added together sum to double the number. So perfect numbers are very rare. You'll see here the first 4 perfect numbers are 6, 28, 496, and 8128. And then they get so big that it's virtually impractical. So these are the only 4 perfect numbers that we're really ever concerned about. And 28 is one of them. So 28 lunar phases between his no-hitter and perfection. Well, the first multiple of 28 is 56. And once again, that's the number on Mark Buehrle's jersey. Enter Dwayne Wise, whose name equals 56 in reverse reduction. And when Mark Buehrle was born, Dwayne Wise was exactly 56 weeks old. We can even take this a step further, because the 56th prime number, the number only divisible by 1 and itself, is 263. And in Gematria, his full name, Mark Allen Buehrle, equals 263 reverse, while Dwayne Wise equals 263 with capital letters. Don't forget, this is all connected to the new Pope of the Catholic Church, who is from the city of Chicago, Robert Francis Prevost. His name with an ordinal value of the 56th prime number. Well, when Mark Buehrle threw his perfect game, it was a span of 26 weeks and 3 days after Chicago native Barack Obama took office. Now, Barack Obama was involved in an extremely incredible perfect number ritual back in December of 2023 when he read to children in a classroom. This is where we get the connection with I, Pet Goat 2, as Barack Obama and George W. Bush were both portrayed in a classroom during that short film. And again, I, Pet Goat 2, with matching gematria with perfection. So more on that in a little bit. But again, this all goes through Obama, whose full name in the special Latin or Agrippa's key form of gematria, the only method that is not based in ordinal that I teach, but what I consider to be the most significant. Obama's full name equals 641, and Buehrle's statue was unveiled 641 days after Yale University's special anniversary, their Skull and Bones anniversary, a couple years ago. In fact, when Buehrle threw his perfect game, Obama was 641 lunar orbits old. Buehrle also achieved perfection, which sums to 185, during Obama's 185th day in office. The number 185 all connected to the 9/11 code as well. The 9/11 code is important because this riddle is all connected to the Tower code that I've also been discussing in my last few videos, beginning with the Texas floods, carrying over into the death of Bobby Jenks. Last year, I made a video on the whole Tower riddle, which you can find linked down below in the description. I go into great detail about this special 16th tarot card. And this has been the theme lately. I mean, this guy, Nico Hulkenberg, who I put in this video, just got his first podium last week. When Mark Buehrle's statue was unveiled on July 11th, he was exactly 619 lunar orbits, or sidereal months old. A sidereal month is a couple days shorter than a lunar phase, or a synodic month. 619 is the 114th prime number. And in the alphabetic order, the name Mark Buehrle equals 114. Mark Buehrle's statue also equals 114. And this is the big number connected to the Tower, 114 ordinal. If you include the Roman numerals, the Tower 16, it also sums to 1014. Now, the Tower is the 16th card of the tarot. And check out Mark Buehrle's age, just one day before the statue was unveiled. Buehrle was 16,911 days old on July 10th. So you have the 16 and the 9/11. The date the statue was revealed was July 11th, or 7/11. And that's how the date September 11th used to be written, as on the Roman calendar, September was the 7th month. So what an ideal date. And the number 9/11 had been coded into this perfect game to begin with. Measuring from Mark Buehrle's first ever appearance in Major League Baseball to the date of his perfect game was a span of 9 years, 1 week, and 1 day. That same duration is also 111 lunar phases and 16 days. Which, of course, upside down has the 9-1-1-11. In fact, Buehrle's last MLB game in 2015, that was played 101 months and 16 days after his no-hitter. Don't forget, Obama's full name has the upside-down 9/11 in reverse reduction. When Mark Buehrle threw his no-hitter, Barack Obama was exactly 611 sidereal months old. And then the perfect game was thrown 11 months and 6 days after the anniversary of the no-hitter. Buehrle's birthday was 116 days before his Major League debut. And when Buehrle's Major League career ended, it was 1 year, 109 days before Obama's presidency ended. So a lot of 911, 119, upside down, right side up. These two men are strongly connected. Now, when I made my post on Barack Obama visiting this classroom last year, I started off with the number 106, as the former president visited Parkside Community Academy, which equals 106, reflecting the 16 of the Tower card. Well, the 106th prime number is 577. And Mark Buehrle's statue was unveiled 577 days after Obama's classroom visit. Buehrle's no-hitter was also 5 years, 7 months, 7 days after the 9/11 attacks. Mark Buehrle's perfect game, also 106. That's fun. But notice how this duration from Obama's visit to Buehrle's statue is also 1 year, 212 days. That's a lot like the date 12/12 or December 12th. And December 12th is the date that Obama made this visit, 12/12. Now, there's a few more connections to Barack Obama here. In Buehrle's age for his perfect game, you have the 181, which connects to Obama's full and common names. But just look at how strongly these guys are connected in birth. Obama was born on a date with primary numerology of 92. When you write out Buehrle's number 56 in Gematria, it equals 920 in Latin. Mark Buehrle was born exactly 920 weeks after Barack Obama. And his full name, Mark Allen Buehrle, equals 92. When Buehrle threw his no-hitter, it was exactly 92 weeks before Obama became the president. And when you measure between their birthdays, you'll notice the digits 440 and 441 in the number of days. Buehrle equals 440, while Mark Buehrle equals 441. And his major league career lasted for 441 weeks after his no-hitter. So it's completely undeniable that these guys are mystically connected. And I know a lot of people watching, probably see this and think, obviously the perfect game was rigged, right? All these guys on the field made sure it happened on that date. But I implore you to watch this catch, because this catch was so incredible. There's obviously no way it was rigged. This is a perfect example of the organic manifestation of the mathematical patterns that this universe provides us. And it all goes through consciousness. Because, if you think about it deeply, numbers do not exist outside of our own imagination. Thus, the events that we see unfold, which we can register through the numbers, must somehow be connected. Of course, I have a lot of deep theories on this. I've been listening to a little Terence McKenna lately. And if you're not familiar with him, he was so far ahead of his time in understanding what's going on. Personally, I think his mind would be blown by Gematria and what we're discovering. But we could only wish that that was the case. Now, before I go on to this organic connection I have to the perfect game, I want to look back at this classroom visit with Barack Obama. Now, again, Superstream 74, linked below in the description, is where I talked about this. But I need to remind you guys the perfect number riddle that was involved in this. Now, the name Barack in Hebrew means lightning. And when Obama went to the classroom to read to children, it was 496 days after lightning struck near the White House, killing a couple from Wisconsin. Wisconsin equals 44 in Gematria. Obama was the 44th United States president. And remember, 496, this is the third perfect number. And notice how I mentioned Texas in this post from last year. Texas equals 496. And just last weekend, we had the massive flooding in the state of Texas because of Tropical Storm Barry. On the date of the 9/11 attacks, the ultimate tower date, Barack Obama was exactly 496 lunar phases old. And when you write out September 11th, it equals 496. Well, the fourth perfect number is 8,128. And Obama's classroom visit was 8,128 days after the 9/11 attacks. And this riddle goes deeper. Again, this is linked below in the description. But I point this out because of how it connects to me, personally. This blew my effing mind when I saw this. Now, people who have been watching my videos for years know that I was born in the year 85. That's why my channel is called Gematrinator 85. But I actually had a channel before this that was deleted by YouTube called Gematrinator 64. And this is all because my birthday is 6/4/85. It's pretty simple. There's nothing crazy coded into those numbers. It's just my date of birth. Well, look at how old I was when Mark Buehrle's statue was unveiled. I was exactly 496 lunar phases old, which is, again, Obama's exact age for 9/11. And check this out. In Latin Gematria, the word statue equals 496. And again, this perfection riddle is all connected to the new Chicagoland Pope. Catholic Church equals 496 in Latin Gematria. And like I mentioned at the top of the video, the reason I'm connected to this is because I played Little League Baseball, and I didn't go very far with my career. I only played for 3 years as a kid. But my favorite position was pitcher. I was the closer one year and a starter for a couple of other years on my team. So a perfect game was always like at the forefront of my baseball dreams. And it was my mom's 56th birthday that I saw this game play out live when number 56 threw the no-hitter, matching my mom's reduction value. And I hope you like the picture I chose for my mother here. This is a sign that we made for my mom at Electric Forest in 2019. And I'm pretty sure at this point she's been to more music festivals than I have. That's its own little world. I'm not going to get into it here, but if you look at my age for the perfect game, I was exactly 24 years and 7 weeks old, matching Chicago White Sox. But this also matches my mom's name. Now, this isn't her legal name, but because, she has a son named Tickery, which is me, she also has 3 sons named Mayashiba. So she refers to herself as this name, which equals 247 ordinal. Also notice how my birth name and my mom's birth name both match Mark Buehrle in Gematria, 441. But this is where things get absolutely insane. Most of the world knows me as the Gematrinator. And notice how Gematrinator matches Buehrle's full name, Mark Allen Buehrle, 503 and 281, to match Gematrinator. Now, I wasn't the Gematrinator back in 2009. That was still 7-8 years later. Mark Buehrle also equals 183 to match Gematrinator. And in regards to this all being connected to Catholicism, with the new Catholic Pope from Chicago, Catholicism equals 323. And if you look at the date that the Vatican was founded, it was on the date leaving 323 days in the year. And when Prevost became Pope Leo, Yale University, home of the Skull and Bone Society, was 323 years old. Also 211 days old, matching the Vatican's February 11th or 2/11 founding date. So this brings us to Mark Buehrle's birthday, which is March 23rd or 3/23, which was 323 weeks before I was born. Our first names, Derek and Mark, both match in Gematria. My common name, Derek Takori, matches Mark Allen Buehrle in ordinal, reduction, and prime number Gematria. Also notice our names both equal 878. But now look at this. On the date of Mark Buehrle's final Major League Baseball appearance, I was the exact same age that Mark Buehrle was when he threw his perfect game. So I was 11,080 days old when he retired. Remember, 56 and Buehrle both equals 118. I saw number 56's perfect game on my mom's 56th birthday. And these are the numbers connected to his perfect game, which he threw at 11,080 days old, 118 weeks after his no-hitter. My name and Chicago both do have the 118, but look at this. This is where it's just so stupid. I was born 6 years and 73 days after Mark Allen Buehrle, who retired 6 years and 73 days after his perfect game. And in standard frickin' English Gematria, Mark Allen Buehrle equals 673. The cipher which most closely mirrors ancient Hebrew and Greek isopsephy. What are the odds that I have this connection directly through the dates? And furthermore, this is the 122nd prime number, which my full name does equal. In the alphabetic order, my full name equals 203. And 203 was the duration of Buehrle's perfect game, 2 hours and 3 minutes. Played on the 23rd day of the month. Just like how Buehrle was born on the 23rd day of the month. When Barack Obama became the president, I was even 23 years and 230 days old. So it's like, so many people use my calculator, find like a 2-digit number match, and they're like, oh, it's a conspiracy. I knew it. And this goes for some people who are even teaching this code, acting as if they have this key to all the secrets in the world. But so many people are completely unaware of what's really happening. And it's that this world is magic, and it's trying to feed us the information, to clue us in. And words can't express this stuff. Again, you have to experience it yourself. And all I can do is provide clues for you. So again, this is connected to the Catholic Church. The word Catholic in the alphabetic order equals 71. So does the last name Buehrle, 71. This brings us back to Dwayne Wise, the player who made the miraculous 9th inning catch to save the perfect game. Well, Dwayne was 7 years and 100 days old when I was born. Now, when Mark Buehrle's statue was unveiled, my mom was 71 years old. But she was also 353 days after her birthday. And 353 is the 71st prime number. Obama had the 23 and the 353 in his age for the statue's reveal. The former president was even born 353 days before my mom's birthday and the date of the perfect game. And you got to appreciate that my mom's name sums to 937, which matches Mark Buehrle's statue. And she's got this perfect 71 connection to this Buehrle statue. Like, did I ever think I would be decoding my mom in connection to a Major League statue when I started this blog? No. But this is where the study ultimately takes you. Also, 937, by the way, this is the 159th prime number, which matches perfection. When I relaunched my website a few years ago as a business, that was Mark Buehrle's age, 15,900 days old. All right, now I'm going off the deep end, but I mentioned earlier the 114 because that's Mark Buehrle in Gematria. He was the 114th prime number of lunar orbits. And I have 114 birth numerology. Now, I also looked at a connection between myself and Dwayne Wise. But there's something even bigger to this. My last name sums to 90 in Gematria. And this is obviously a big baseball number with 9 players on the field. MLB, 9 in reduction. Well, if you measure from the birthday of Dwayne Wise to my birthday, I was exactly 90 lunar phases younger than Dwayne. And that's important because the moon equals 90 in ordinal Gematria. And the Major League Baseball team I root for is the Brewers, which equals 90. Like, really? The moon is 90 and this guy was born exactly 90 moons before me? And he makes the epic catch in the 9th inning? If you include the end date, we were also born 7 years, 101 days apart. This reflects the date 7/11, or July 11th, like when the statue was revealed, 11 months and 7 days after Obama's birthday. These are the same 3 digits found in the lunation number of Buehrle's no-hitter. July of 2009 was during Brown lunation 1071. See this? 171. You got the 711 coded inside of that. Well, this brings us back to my mom, who has 4 sons, and I'm the youngest, and my oldest brother was born exactly 171 months before me. So my mom had 4 kids 171 months apart. And if you use the prime number cipher, her full name, if you include her married names, sums to the 171st prime number. This also syncs up with her current legal name, 119. And my mom's birthday is 1 month and 19 days after my birthday. And of course, it goes deeper too. My Fibonacci gematria matches my age for the statue unveiling. There's some more matches I had laid out as well. But again, all of this happened with no interference by myself or anyone else who... I don't know how else to put this, guys. You know, I'm trying to help raise the consciousness with this perspective that I'm bringing on, and I understand that, you know, the kinds of things I point out, especially when I talk about the organic matrix, are much different than many decoders. But, you know, as the guy who made the calculator that most people are using to decode this matrix, you know, I know it's selfish to say, but I really think my perspective is very valuable in this regard. And, you know, I don't believe that anybody, you know, planned this out to try and spook me out later in life. It's, again, it's the creator trying to clue us in to the magic that lies just on the other side of this holographic reality that we all share. So again, check the links below for more. If you want to see my video on Bobby Jenks and how it's all connected to Pope Leo and the Pi code, you will find that down below. And if you missed my super stream from last year on the Tower Riddle and Obama's classroom visit, you gotta see it. Because the code that runs around this tarot deck is so significant. I think Cody even mentioned in one of his recent videos that, just last weekend, as all this Tower stuff is playing out, a wrestler named Hangman won the AEW Heavyweight Championship. And this was all connected to the tarot as well, whose 12th card is the Hanged Man. So, I think the manifestation in reality, I know I've been using that word a lot today, but it's connected to the same patterns and symbols that are found in the tarot. Because whether it's the tarot, whether it's a standard 52-card deck, whether it's an I Ching, whether it's some other mystical method, I believe they all represent the same unconscious patterns that are manifesting in reality, that do so by a numerical or astrological code. And numerology is just one clue to all of this. I think it's one of the most solid clues, as it sort of prevents or provides a direct straight line to the source. Yeah, and Zenith, that's an interesting fact about the Tree of Life as well. I mean, the Tree of Life, instrumental to the Kabbalah, which is essentially the backbone of all of this. The Kabbalists believed that consciousness was connected to what happens in reality, the natural organic manifestations. So all I'm doing by this is trying to encourage everyone watching to look at their own reality in a different light. Because everyone has experienced coincidences that seem utterly impossible to occur if the world was as random as we've all been led on to believe. And I used to hold that belief myself. I would notice numerical synchronicities in my life, but I would brush them off as meaningless. And it wasn't until I got older and realized that our alphabet is a numerical code where I said, you know what? Maybe there is something to this. And while so many people get lost in the world looking for meaning, I believe, a lot of people get lost and turn to things like religion, which can be great, but religion also breeds a lot of other things that aren't so great. And I truly believe that if people had this type of perception about the world, and how this world is essentially a creation for you, not only you, not specifically you, but you are included in the purpose of this world. That's what I think would really turn consciousness around. And that's why I believe channels like mine have been squashed by large platforms like YouTube and others. Because this is the type of enlightenment that truly empowers people and allows them to take their life by their own horns, so to speak. Clearly I'm not a motivational speaker. That's not my thing. My thing is numbers, but just trying to share this perspective and hope it helps others. That's all I've ever wanted to do. So, again, I built this calculator to try and share this language with everybody. But it wasn't until after I made it that I realized my own Gematria matches Gematria. See this? My common name, the name that I was given at birth, matches Gematria. 142. In fact, numbers matches my first name. See that? Derek and numbers. And then my last name matches letters. 99 and 90, just like my last name. You bring it together, you get Gematria. In fact, Gematria calculator equals 117. And I built the calculator on January 17th of the year 17. 117. I didn't plan it. But that's just how it worked out. So again, always keep a suspicious eye to what myself or anyone else is saying, because no one has the full code. You know, through all my years of study and attempts to make predictions when it comes to sports and things that happen in the real world, what I've realized is that you can make predictions using numerology, but you are often going to be wrong as well. Numerology, to me, is a probability indicator. And if you, in fact, get too carried away trying to predict the future with this method, you will quickly discover that you will be mocked by the Matrix. Because, like, for instance, like what McKenna said, being able to predict the future with perfection would make reality deterministic, and thus divorce thinking from meaning. However, we can predict novelty, which is why, for instance, you know, some of us can say, well, I think there might be a plane crash on such and such date, and then there is a plane crash on that date. You know, one of the best recent examples of this was in December of last year, where on December 18th, I made a video about an earthquake being connected to the Buffalo Bills. And in a different video, I said we were expecting a plane crash on December 19th. And then on December 19th, we got a plane crash at the home of a Buffalo Bills player. So there's no way anybody could have predicted, oh, we're going to see a plane crash at this specific man's home on that date. But there was enough novelty associated with this event that we were able to pick up on the patterns. So again, man, if McKenna was still alive, able to see this, and I know he did some of this, but if he was keen to our methodology to bring this to light, I think it would just blow him away. All right, everybody, so I think that's enough rambling for me in this video. If you made it this far, thanks a lot. And I hope that my elementary mysticism is at least somewhat helpful to you in your decoding journey as you try to decipher what this matrix really is, what your purpose inside of it may really be. These are challenges that all of us face, and often we repetitively face at different points in our lives. And no one should lean on numerology and gematria as the be-all, end-all of knowledge, as there are many more divination methods to use. But it's also important to have faith that the types of things you need in life will come to you as long as you work towards it with honest passion. So that'll do it for today, everyone. Again, check the links in the description for more. My name is Derek. Much, much love out there. There's always more needed. So, peace, love, God bless. We'll talk to you next time. See ya.